And here we go.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 72 of CMD Towers, Brews, and Builds. I'm MrComboNumber5, and my fellow host is a brash taunter in IRL, BigTuck. And yes, that is in real life.
Look, I am invincible, or indestructible. So let's get that out of the way. So I don't have a lot of bits to go into this deck because I looked at this deck and felt like I was looking into the Necronomicon. However, there is something I want to bring up, which I think is really funny as we get into this. And before I ask you how tired you look, the first thing I want to say is I am really enjoying this Vegas Days New England IPA. Very fairly provided from our old pals at Rock Creek Brewing. Mr. Combo, you know this about me, but I've identified these people in my life called the Three Muses, right? Like Hercules has the Three Muses. Okay. So these are the only three grown women in my life I'm not related to. And it's very strange. My therapist, my aesthetician, and my tattoo artist. And I happened to see all of them last week, which is in itself interesting. But as of today, both my therapist and my esthetician have tried to set me up with someone who's also one of their clients.
Oh my gosh,
and
that's
so
too
far,
funny.
I know that they're both nurses, and one of them hasn't worked out, so I'm hoping round two will go well. So that's been an interesting one for me. But again, there's something. Look, I like your new setup because I can see more of you and I can see your basement, but I can't see the bags under your eyes as clearly. So now I just feel like you're sleeping 12 hours a week or 12 hours a day. Maybe you are sleeping 12 hours.
Sleeping 12 hours a week. You're a goddamn vampire.
I feel great. So, how long did it take you to recover from the Saturday night rigmaroles?
Oh, I was good by noon.
Seriously?
Yeah, the only thing that I did feel bad on is I had a bailout on our boxing league. Like, I woke up at 10:30, 10:15, something like that. And the boxing league was supposed to kick off at 11. And I'll be honest, I just didn't want to play it.
That's fine.
Just to put it frankly. And
well, we had been playing Magic for what? 8-9 hours the day before.
That is true. The day of. And I was just irritated because I feel like I've been fairly flexible-ish with the league. It's like I can play any night after like 9 o'clock. I can, Friday night I can go into the wee hours. I can do Saturday mornings, and then I can do Sunday mornings, and let's just figure it out. And like this particular group, it was just like, oh well, like I can only do it this night and this night, but they wanted to start at like 5 p.m. and had to stop at 7 p.m. And it's like, I just told you I can't do that. And so it was like, we go into the next week and I was just like, you know what? I'm in a bad mood because I got third to last in the thing.
In my own boxing league.
But the crazy thing is I should have done better. Damn you, Marketing Ross. I got a message for him the next day. Guess what? He wasn't drinking.
Yeah, because he's not drinking this year.
I didn't know that he wasn't drinking. I wouldn't have sent his ass to the championship. I would have been like, hey everyone, kill that sober son of a bitch.
Well, yeah. So if it makes you feel any better, I don't think I texted you this. I think I sent it to the group, but like, woke up the next day at 10, could barely breathe. Peed. It was bright orange. Had to go to my brother's house with his kids to drop something off for him before 1. God.
Did you say bright orange?
Who is this? I'm done. Okay, listen, I'll say this. This is coming out next week, right? Okay. The 2021 retired bit. Who is this? We've been hacked. I'm over it. So
there you go.
I knew I had to get myself together. Went to the old pal Burger King, ordered $18 worth of food, and ate all of it in the 20-minute car ride from that Burger King to my brother's house in Wyandotte County.
I got a question. How do you order what did you order? $18 at Burger King is impressive.
If I remember correctly, I think I got a Whopper value meal with a Diet Coke because I'm trying to watch my weight, obviously. A spicy chicken sandwich, an order of onion rings, and 2 crunchy tacos.
That was $18?
And somehow I managed to eat all of that while driving and on the highway and didn't get into an accident, nor did I get pulled over.
I'm more concerned that cost $18. 2 crunchy tacos, a Whopper Jr., a Diet Coke,
No, it was a Whopper meal.
Sandwich?
The Whopper meal itself is damn near $8. Yeah, or maybe it was a double. I don't know. It was unhealthy, but I ate the entirety of it in the car ride over my brother's place. And turns out
you could have gotten like 2 large carry-out pizzas for $18.
Look, there wasn't a Casey's near me, and now
Pizza
I'm
Hut
still...
and a Domino's and a couple others.
Look,
I'm pretty sure you go to the Burger King by my house.
It's all irrelevant, but now I've since recovered, at least physically, if not emotionally. But who won it? Ross.
So Duff actually won the whole thing. And then I believe it was Forrest in second place, Ross in third place, Will in fourth place, and then us scumbag down the line. And so, when Ross texted me that, I was like, oh, okay, well, how about this? You can still keep the Z-Drew because I don't think anyone else actually wanted the goat, but I'll give the polluted Delta to
the fourth place.
Oh, the goat.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So... yeah, I'm just more mad because I wanted to be in that pod so I could potentially win the Commander Spellbook Green or the Tiny Bones, which I believe Duff took both of those.
What?
Monster.
Yeah, because it's you get to pick the legendary.
Oh, it took the Tiny Bones? Yeah, well, that's a right. Now, to be fair, that's the right pick, right? And I wasn't there to be like, hey, Forrest, I want this. What do you want? Okay, let's conspire, and I won't do anything, and you'll just kill me second to last.
Oh, man. Well, it was a great time. Thank you for everyone for coming out. We did hear throughout the collective that many people were disappointed that we didn't do a mass invitation, which I'm sorry. Mr. Combo pays for this out of his own dollars, and it kind of was thrown together last minute. So we will be planning a CMD Tower EDH tournament sometime come this spring, summer. I'd like to get it done before June. We'll probably wait for BigTuck to complete his move. So yeah, be on the lookout for it.
Well,
thanks for tuning in.
Sorry, before we leave from that, I do want to say you did a great job hosting it, a great job managing it, and we're all very thankful that you put in the time and effort and money into it. So,
and I'm surprised I stayed quasi sober.
It was shocking. I decided that I was going to be the drunkest person there, and I'm pretty sure I succeeded on that. So
Nailed it.
Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. And as always, with that monolithic commentary from Rich Chaos Records Studio, it's Squee McGee.
Hey, guys. It's Squee. I'm actually kind of sad I didn't get to come to the old tournament this year, which is probably fair because I did not build the Rona deck that I won from the previous tournament because I could not figure out any way to make that do anything at all. I tried.
Wait, what did I?
Well, you're banned from every tournament until you get it.
What did I win?
I don't remember. I got Selenia the Dark Angel.
I'm talking about last week.
Oh, here, I can tell you. It's not something you want.
Oh, good. Hopefully it's at Nekazar, so I can say I already built it.
Oh, so Big Tuck, you got Kaza Royal Chaser.
Oh.
No, actually, you know what? I'm okay with that because now I can actually dismantle that Mizzet deck that I hate and turn it into this.
There you go.
Party on.
It's just a fair Mizzix.
Yes, exactly.
There you go. Well, yeah, I'm sad I missed the tournament. I'll come back next year and maybe this gives me a second year to build Rona. So, I got time. Got time on my hands. It's going to be 2021 where the fruits are going to be bountiful. There's going to be people out in the streets talking to each other in maybe never. I don't know. We'll find out. But okay, by next tournament, I'll build a Rona. It'll lose.
There we go.
And it'll fail. But other than that,
and then you can dismantle it, and then you're good. Done.
Other than that, I've had a garbage week. I'm going to fast forward through that, and we're done.
All right. Well, if you guys want to know more ways to help Squee get out of his garbage week and the rest of the CMD Tower team and all the content we put out, head over to our sponsor, level1gameshop.com. They sell everything you need from a board top, tabletop, everything top perspective, except for top tops. Well, actually, they do sell t-shirts, so they do have top tops.
What about power tops and power ball?
Dude, what about a top that you wear as a tank top that has thopters on it, so it's a top.
Oh, damn.
Oh, God.
Brought to you by CMD Tower.
Anyways, those guys are awesome over there. They're the ones that give you guys the monthly giveaways. So any type of ordering you can do through them. And they do even sell the CMD Tower playmat and sleeve. So if you wanted to support them there, that's a great way to do it. But there's actually a way that you can help us out financially. And heck, if we can get enough patrons and get enough money raised, we'll even include prizes in our EDH tournament coming up. Head over to patreon.com/CMD Tower. We have 4 different pledge levels, and rewards vary from just the $1 a month getting Discord and deck therapy, all the way to $25 a month to where you get all of our different swag. And yes, as we come out with swag each, I think we've done it now about every 6 months, 7 months or so. Right. You'll be able to just get that stuff for free because you've been contributing and been supporting us. And we definitely have some longstanding patrons. I think by the time this episode comes out, we will have had our patron community for exactly 1 year.
Wow. I can confirm that Chuck the Slice has been a patron for 42 and a half years. He started even before we started. He's known about the podcast.
Oh, this is a bit. Sorry, I thought you were going to say like 42 weeks and go into like some sort of Rent musical about Chuck the Slice. But
no, that was an under the radar failed bit. Anyways, proceed.
But if you guys actually do want to pick up the swag directly from us, whether that's the Squee coin, the BigTuck Monarch token, MrComboNumber5 reminder token, our playmat or sleeves, head over to cmdtower.com/merch. Order whatever you need on there. We'll get it shipped out to you eventually.
Yeah, it will come.
And of course, if you guys can't help us out from a financial perspective, just share the content you're watching and listening to, because every little bit of interaction from the collective does help. And of course, big shout out to Pink Royal. And hey, stay tuned till the end so you guys can get details on how you can win both of the Commander Legends EDH decks from Level 1 Game Shop. And hey, today's even Christmas, so maybe you're feeling lucky, punk. Wait, I think that's the wrong movie. Doesn't even matter. So Brews and Builds is our deck tech series. Since we conquered the path to 32, we have moved on to the endless themes that EDH can bring us. Each month will be a new theme, and we correlate how these decks are constructed similar to how a beer is brewed. So we broke it down into 4 different categories. The first one's rampant setting your board state. That's grain.
Yes, and grains are the foundation of every beer. They include both base malts and specialty malts, usually in about a 60-40 ratio. This helps with the color, taste, and most importantly, the alcohol content of a beer. Deck always need ways to grow, stabilize, and ramp in your bigger threats. And just like a grain profile, they're usually a mix of staples and specialty cards.
The next is going to be, how does your board interact with all of your opponents, really? We call that hops.
And hops give the beer its patented bitterness and herbal floral flavors. They grow in a variety of strains, help distinguish subcategories like this Vegas Days New England IPA brewed with Citra, Columbus, and Mosaic hops. Our hop choices help clear
from Rock Creek Brewery. From
Rock Creek Brewery. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's very smooth and delicious.
Go to hell.
Our hop choices help clear and interact with the board so your deck can do it at once.
And then we have one of my favorite sections that this deck is... It has, but it doesn't at the same time.
It's full of them, but I don't know if that matters.
So how does the deck win a game? We correlate that to yeast.
Yes, and yeast are the living microorganisms that eat the sugar from the grain and poop out alcohol and CO2. It adds the alcohol content and the carbonation. Without yeast, you'd be drinking flat sugar water, and without yeast cards, your deck wouldn't meet the goal of actually winning the game.
And then we have what this deck is filled with. Shenanigans
and
new nonsense.
Record, right? This is
100%.
By a country 100%. Mile, is it not?
Yep, absolutely. These are just random BS cards. They usually have something a little softer to put in here, but no, if this is just nonsense that this person put in here, we're calling that the spice package.
Almost to spite us.
Nauseating.
Yeah, right.
Like, it's almost like if this was a beer, you would take a sip and be like, too spice.
So let me run through this real quick. Not every beer has them, but spices and other additives help separate a normal stock beer from a specialty one. It could be the pepper that turns a stout into jalapeno stout, or the addition of hops that turn IPA into a double IPA. Not every deck has something that makes it pop, but if it does, this is where we talk about it. So my brother, who you guys both know, also likes his beers. We went to Martin City Brewing, which usually has very good beers, very good pizza. We got a pint of their donut pastry beer to drink. We could not finish it. Between the two of us, sober. We couldn't finish it because it was Mr. Combo, if I may, too sweet. Way too sweet.
And then to cap off the episode, we have redundancy. It's a bottle capping, which would be BigTuck and I's recommendations to the deck that are going to be under $5, under $50, and a no budget recommendation. We just can't do mana only lands. So without further ado, let's get brewing. This concludes our White Elephant month, which is a reminder. These are decks that BigTuck and I have gifted the infamous Godfather throughout our last couple years of him playing Magic. And so part of the White Elephant month, as a reminder, the bottle capping will be BigTuck and I actually gifting and cutting the cards without his permission because he needs it to hopefully make the decks a little bit better. So today we're talking about Gerard the Unabomber. This is Gerard Weatherlight Hero. BigTuck, why don't you read what Gerard does, and then I'll go into the history of this deck, because this is actually the very first deck that the Godfather ever received, and it's one that I gifted him when he moved back to Kansas City, and this deck isn't even what I had built initially. So why don't you read what he does? We'll go into this.
It's wild. This is actually the good Gerard. So just a little history on him. He was like supposed to be the super soldier, like could kill everything. And he's gotten 2 cards that are both sort of okay. The first one's terrible. This one's actually better. So Gerard Weatherlight Hero is a 3/3 legendary creature, human soldier for 2 colorless, a red and a white. I'm not wearing my glasses because they're over there and I'm lazy. First strike: when Gerard Weatherlight Hero dies, exile it and return to the battlefield all artifact and creature cards in your graveyard that were put there from the battlefield this turn. Gerard's final act ensured his legacy would never die.
Oh, that's actually kind of on flavor.
Yeah, and I think it's about the legacy weapon, I think. So, here we are.
Okay. So the initial deck that I had built the Godfather, because Gerard did not exist when I first built him the deck. So initially it was actually Jorkadeen the Prevailer.
Right.
That's a 3 colorless Boros human warrior, 5/4 with first strike, but it has Metalcraft. Creatures you control get +3/+throw as long as you control 3 or more artifacts. So the initial build of this was like, okay, the Godfather doesn't really like to play Magic. He just does it from a social perspective.
Right.
So I'm going to load it with artifacts. I'm going to load it with creatures, with equipment, and with board wipes. Just, I'm going to throw in the cheap board wipes or even some decent ones like a certain thing that deals 13 damage.
Sure.
And so that was the initial build. And he would play it, and it really just... it was boring. Yeah. I mean, he wasn't having a good time. Boros in general just sucks.
Sure
but the
does.
one thing I noticed is that he would board wipe 3 to 4 times a game,
right,
consistently. And so once I went to Magic Fest Vegas 2 years ago, or I guess year and a half, that was right when the Commander 19 decks came out, which Gerard was in the 99 of. I ended up saying, you know what? I actually think he would, put Jorkadeen in the 99 of the deck and then put Gerard in the command zone. Because in that way, whenever he wants to board wipe, he doesn't lose all of his stuff.
Right.
So it was like this cool... straightforward Boros, I'm going to deal damage, but hey, then I'm going to board wipe, but I'm going to get all my stuff back.
I'm going to get my stuff back, right? Yeah.
And then once they fix the die exile effect of Gerard with the new commander rulings this last spring, it made the deck even better. And I was like, oh my gosh, this thing's actually has some legs. Well, living with Squee, I feel like let's just say the Godfather has been influenced by the fogs of war that Squee likes to do with funny cards.
I had nothing to do with
hilarious cards.
Wait, I might have. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah. Let's just say the Godfather ended up cutting, oh my gosh, what was it?
You said it was like 30 cards or something, right?
Yeah, it's like 30 something cards that he cut. Like he got rid of Ulamog's Crusher, which is like a decent one for swinging in.
Yeah, right. Especially suited up.
Got rid of Tectonic Land or Tectonic Rift that lets you get in for some legit damage. And then he added in some nonsense stuff that I'm sure we'll talk to, like a certain broom that
what?
Is,
yeah. Oh man.
I don't know what the deck is supposed to do now. So collective, I organize the categories as if it's still trying to do the initial thing that I was recommending, but I don't even think the deck has a direction right now, does it?
I don't see. That's what's throwing me, because I was looking through this. So just a couple housekeeping things. 6 grain, 17 hops, 23 yeast, and an all-time record by no stretch of the time or imagination, 19 spice cards. Now, yeah. I think that there is something in here, right? If you dig really, really deep, there's this very strange...
We're talking magical Christmas land here.
Yeah, like not even... It's like, I mean, it's like magical, like... It's magical Hanukkah Christmas land where the Quran is the spell book, if you will. Like, it's this insane... if you look through it, it like sort of makes sense where there's this weird artifact sacrifice theme, right? I've actually seen... So with that said, right, I've seen him play this deck many times. There's never been a single time where I've been like, oh, I get it. I'm seeing the line, and even if you can't, I can. But what's most shocking to me, and Mr. Combo, again, correct me if I'm wrong, you did not alter this deck after you gave it to him, correct?
Correct.
4 for 4 perfect mana bases. Perfect mana bases for someone who has never built a deck in his entire life. How does that happen? Am I wrong? Like, look at it. It's perfect.
Yep. I think there's just a tick too much white, maybe.
Right. Yes, but considering he has cards like Boros Guildgate and Needle Spires in here, and 1 copy of Great Furnace.
Hey, that came from me. You know, I've thrown in.
Well, where's the white one?
I don't know. I didn't have that one. He looks to the binder, and you would grab what's useful. Yeah. You know.
And then CMC, we're at a 367, which isn't terrible.
No.
Money wise, I'm surprised this deck's over $100 to be frank.
But I was wondering the same thing. So there are some cards that I didn't realize this. He has where'd it go? Damn it! Hold on. I was just looking at this before the cast. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He has 10 cards in the $5 to $20 range that I think makes up 90% of that cost. And a lot of them I have many questions around in terms of why they're so expensive.
Yeah. Well, I'm really like, I think the thing with this collective and BigTuck and Squee, normally this month I've been like, okay, by the time we get to the bottle capping, we're going to take out 6 cards, put in 6 cards. I think we'll be able to kind of get it in a direction where it'll be a little bit more fun and functional. I think this card honestly needs 12 cards ripped out and 12 cards put in. Easy.
Bare minimum.
Yeah.
The bare minimum.
So let's just start with the bottle capping, skip all the rest.
We'll come back to you. It's like, it's not even like this deck is particularly like sweaty. It's just is like, it's like defies explanation, which is, I mean, kind of cool, but I think we should just get into it.
Yeah, let's get into the grain. There's 6 options.
Yes.
BigTuck, start off.
Okay.
I'm sure we're matched up on at least 2.
At least, right? So I'm going to start with a card called Soul Ring, which is a really interesting inclusion. No, I'm joking. I want to talk about a card that I'm actually excited because I've wanted this card to work for a very long time. And now that I'm building potentially is it pirate deck, it can. We're talking about the legendary pirates.
Yes, it can.
Yes, we are. Ready? 3,
2, 1.
Captain Lannery Storm. 2 colorless and a red for a legendary creature human pirate. That's a 2/2 and it's a rare.
So it has haste, and it says whenever Captain Lannery Storm attacks, create a colorless treasure artifact token with tap, sack this artifact, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Whenever you sack a treasure, Captain Lannery Storm gets +1/+0 until end of turn.
So I will tell you this: it's not only the fresh saltwater spray that's doing her mop, and if you will, this card is sweaty AF. It requires so much for so little. I think the problem is, but like that being said, I really like this card, and I have been trying to figure it out. Right? There's got to be a home for this deck. And I just not outside of just mono pirates, right? Like where it's okay. It's like, you know, considering the options you have, I like the fact that it gives you a treasure. It can kind of turn into like a big swinger with just treasures? ? Yeah, I know, right? I guess.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. It's a 2/2 with no evasion and haste for 3.
So, I mean, I guess in theory, you get it down turn 3, you swing at the one person that doesn't have a blocker yet.
That doesn't have a Drake or a zombie or an elf or anything.
Yeah. So the initial thought by putting this card in the deck was that, yes, it can get you some mana ramp, but then it's also creating stuff for Metalcraft.
Yes.
To then make your creatures bigger. And then it makes it, people are then like, man, 5/2? I don't know if I really want to, like, you know, deal with that. And then there were a myriad of equipments that could give it first strike or menace, things like that. Then it's even harder to block it. So there's not a lot of grain and a lot of way to ramp in this deck. So I guess you pay 3 to net 1. And then it maybe dies off blocks, and then you have an extra mana your next turn.
It's bizarre. Like, that's what I'm saying, where it's like, I think, and Jor Kadim gives them double strike or something too, right?
No. Jor Kadim himself has first strike, but everything else just gets +3/+0.
Oh, that's bad. No one. Yeah. So that's it, man. What do we got? What do you got next?
All right. So the next one for me, it's a suspend card.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Wheel of Fate.
Yeah, here we go.
It's suspend for a colorless red, and it's suspend for sorcery.
Yeah, and then when it comes off of suspend, each player discards his or her hand, then draws 7 cards.
Budget Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, even is it?
Yes.
I have. What's that one? What's the new one that just came out? So, that
one I do not think is good.
You don't think so? Wheel of Misfortune?
No.
I don't know. I played against it. And I like it because it's a sub game, a la Goblin game. So
Wheel of Fate, like the whole thing with this, and it's basically any Boros deck needs Wheel of Fortune. I mean,
yes,
being able to do that and get a fresh grip it's so necessary because card draw at the time was few and far between. Now, granted, there are more ways that red can do the exile, and you may play from exile effects.
The impulse, if you will.
Yeah, so you can kind of get there with that. But at the time when I built this, one of the things that I envisioned with the deck is the Godfathers being as mana efficient as possible. Let me play this, and I'll play this, and I'll play this, and it's a lot of smaller things. And then it's up. I got like 2 cards left, and I still like can't maybe cast Jor Kadim. So let me suspend this for 2, and then eventually we'll all just Wheel of Fortune. And no one really gets mad at Wheel of Fate unless you're in a Nekuzar or Xeris deck, which this isn't. So it's just like, okay, we show pity on you. Right. Fine.
And again, like I think Wheel of Fate, to your point, is something where you play it. If you're looking at your hand, you have Wheel of Fate, and then you can already see the next 3 turns, and you're out of cards. You're like, Wheel of Fate, 1 drop, pass, land, play a card, pass, land, play, and then you're down to 0, and you're like, all right. And I think to your point about the opponents hating on it, I think this also gives the opponents the impetus to, they're like, oh wait, I'm going to be able to
got 4 turns.
I'm going to be able to wheel in 4 turns. Perfect. Like, I don't have to think anymore. I'm just going to rush everything out, and then on his turn I'll have a full 7 and lands being able to do stuff. So it's a good inclusion in here. I'm less hot on it, I think, in a broad sense than you are. But especially in this budget build, I'm sure you had 2 or 3 of these lying around, so it's easy just to throw one in for the Godfather.
All right, man. Last one. Is it an artifact?
Yeah.
Does it draw everyone cards?
It doesn't, but
oh, okay.
I'll do the other one. I know, yeah. Go for it.
Don't hide
it's
your enthusiasm.
It's my turn. I'm sorry. A Prismatic Lens, 2 colorless for an artifact. It's
so bad.
This is what I want to get into, right? So 2 colorless. It bends not light but mana, aligning its chaotic currents in the sharp angles necessary for the mystic's purposes. That's actually that's kind of a cool flavor text. Taps for 1 colorless tap, add 1 mana of any color. Whatever, right? I don't want to talk about this card, but I want to talk about what this card represents. So our D-bags over at the command tower, or command, damn it. That's us, which also makes sense. Our old pals over
and we're not Command Tower, we're CMD Tower.
Yes, I know. Our old pals over at Game Nights or Command Zone or whatever. I'm coming for you, Jimmy. They went on note saying that all 3-drop mana artifacts are bad. And yes, exactly, Mr. Combo. That's what those idiots said over there. I am coming for you, Jimmy. Check your DMs. The next time, DM me, not Mr. Combo, you coward. So, and also hashtag suck it, more of those nerds. But back to the point. So there is not. I understand that like getting a turn 1 Soul Ring into this is fine, but in my argument and for my sake, how is Prismatic Lens better outside of the fact it costs 1 mana less than Chromatic Lantern?
It's not.
It can't. Thank you, Mr. Combo. We finally can agree on something. It's not, right?
I mean, the only thing that I can maybe say that it's better than is Manolith. And that's actually only because of the fact that this Manolith doesn't do anything other than tap for any color.
But it does it really efficiently.
It doesn't have like Darksteel Ingot, which also has Indestructible.
Or
it's not like the other like Vessel of Endless one. You can put something from the graveyard on the bottom. It doesn't have any other effect. So I would rather have a 2-drop that just gives me a mana, and then if I need to filter, I can. Than a 3-drop that just gives me a mana of any color in a 2-color deck.
But even in this,
that's not as useful.
Even in this deck, I would make the argument that Coalition Relic would be better than this. Actually, Coalition Relic would be better than Chromatic Lantern too. But just for the sake, Prismatic even in this deck, a Chromatic Lantern would be better than this. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I am done talking about this card, and I hope to never talk about it ever again. I will pass priority.
All right, so my last one, it's another artifact. As you guys can tell, we're talking about things that make artifacts, because that's what this deck initially wanted, was for you to have a bunch of artifacts, so even as people Vandal Blast and stuff, you can recover pretty quick and get that +3/+0. Howling Mine.
Yeah.
Once again, great card for Boros. No one's going to blow it up because you are just drawing cards. It's not like you're getting extra card advantage like in a Xeros or Necruzar deck. So 2 colorless artifact. At the beginning of each player's draw step, if Howling Mine is untapped, that player draws an additional card. The mine's riches never end, nor do the moans of the spirits doomed to haunt them. And yes, I couldn't read that because I'm not wearing glasses. I don't need them, but then I figured it out on the fly. So that's okay. So I you know what, Tuck? I'm going to give you an argument. This is better than Prismatic Lens. I would rather draw an additional card than have a GD filter land.
I couldn't agree more. And I think so. A lot of people also argue that like, well, Howling Mine gives all your opponents a card advantage before it gives you one, right? And you're like, to me, to the same point, it's such a hollow argument because, and guess what? This is going to stick around for 9 turns, and I'm going to pay 2 mana to draw out 9 cards in Boros. I don't care if they draw something before me. I don't have anything to do anyways, right? And the only like, there's some versions of this, like the Crewfix one. Dictate Crewfix that has flash, so you can flash it in. But again, we're talking about a Boros artifact deck. If you're going to draw an extra card and that's going to help you win the game, guess what? You're probably going to win this game no matter what I played, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think a cool thing, it's not in this deck, but to get around the Howling Mine argument, sorry.
Yep.
To get around the Howling Mine argument, there are artifacts that do effects that tap down artifacts. Yeah. So, I mean, you could... I'm trying to remember which one it is.
The OG one is Icy Manipulator, that you can pay 1 and tap down anything, like an artifact, creature, or land.
anyways, there are ways that you can tap, be able to tap it down on your opponent's turn so they don't get the extra advantage if you really wanted to go that far. But once again, you're in Boros. No one's going to be picking on you.
No.
So,
yeah, completely agree.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up the grains. Now we're going to head over to the hops where there actually are some other options. Right. And I'm going to talk about one of the gross cards in the deck. I did not add this card to the deck. This was a Godfather ad. It costs 10 to do its thing, 5 to play, 5 to equip, and it makes everyone real sad. But with the commander, it's really good as long as you had a board state.
Yeah.
World Slayer. Now, you may say, Mr. Combo, what's World Slayer? Well, sit down, folks. I'll tell you a story. It costs 5 mana. It's an artifact equipment. $1. Equipped for 5. Whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, destroy all permanents other than World Slayer. So you might say why this isn't in the yeast, because with his commander, if its commander's out there, he dies, he exiles it, and then he brings everything back from the graveyard that was a artifact or a creature. But he's kind of dismantled that piece of the deck. So there's really not that many great things you want to be bringing out of your graveyard to actually make the card work. So I look at this as just a chaos card. It's here. I'm going to do it. He may have his commander and it may die and it gets exiled. And you know what? He might get back 2 equipment and a creature. That's not going to be enough to win the game by any front, but
I'm gonna join the party in here. So you're absolutely correct. I gave him this card as a gift. Came from Squeeze Binder, and it felt just like the Godfather. The whole card, no matter what deck it's in, it just felt like the Godfather.
Yeah. Let's reset the board. I'm not ready to end this game yet. Yeah, I mean, I'm not seeing a whole ton of indestructible stuff in here, so I guess your Brash Taunter still exists, which is exciting. But we'll get, or one of those other sort of cards. We'll get into that later. But yes, you didn't. Okay, Mr. Combo. Even if this was still the deck that you gave him, would you keep this card in it or not?
I can't remember exactly how. It depends on the artifacts, because right now the artifact count is at 17, and I want to say I was in the 25 range.
Yeah. Oh, you have
26
to be
range
with Jorkadim, yeah.
Yeah, so I think if it was still that, then I probably would, because then you're getting a lot more back for your value. But right now at 17, you have to think on average, you're going to have, 4 to 5 out?
Yeah.
Maybe 30% of your artifacts. I don't know if that's worth it for World Slayer.
Yeah.
And his creatures aren't good enough to be like, ooh, slam dunk. Let me bring back Burnish Heart.
Yeah, exactly.
You son of a bitch.
All right. Tuck, what's your first one?
So, and similar to this card, it can't see, and it's obeying like Banksy?
What?
We're talking about blind obedience?
Oh.
That was sweaty. That was a sweaty metaphor and a sweaty drop, but Blind Obedience, colorless and white for a enchantment. It's a rare with extort. Whenever you cast a spell, you may pay white or black. If you do, each opponent loses a life and you gain that much life. Artifacts and creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped, and it's almost $5, which is kind of bonkers. I just mostly wanted to point this out because I don't know how. I think we might have talked about this card once or twice. This card is so good.
Yeah.
For 2 mana, you are effectively shutting off every single mana rock and creature that's going to be into play, including the ones that have haste, if people are going like super fast, that sort of thing. And honestly, it's so good that most times I play it, I honestly forget it even has extort, and I could be gaining incremental life,
which is amazing,
right? Isn't that insane? Yeah. So I mean, I'm sure this is a card that you gave him rightfully, right? So I just want to mostly bring it up because there's a lot of other weird stuff in here, and I want to talk about one card that's actually like incredibly strong and good.
Yeah, the thought here is Boros comes so slow that you need a way to at least incrementally slow down your opponents.
Right.
And unless you count board wipes as stacks cards, I think this is like the only stacks
Yep.
There's another stacks card that I didn't add. He added it. That's in the hop section. But, it's not supposed to be a stacksy deck. It's really just, hey, slow your roll just a little bit. Let me try to catch up.
Yep. So, again, most people know what this card is, so we don't need to go into great detail about it.
All right. Well, my next two are the what inspired me to turn the deck into a Gerard deck. So the first one is a cycling card, and she has Vengeance. We're talking about Akroma's Vengeance.
Oh, yeah, this card's insane.
4 colorless, white sorcery. Destroy all artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. And it does have cycling for 3, so you can pay 3 colorless, discard it, draw a card. Many must die for the one who should not have perished. So thought here is board wipe. That's honestly what it was. It's just like, okay, throw it in there. This is before Gerard came out. But then, like I said, man, the Godfather just kept board wiping, and it's like, man, we should figure out a way that you can actually get your stuff back. Hey, what about this card? Right. Or what about this commander? And you can still keep board wiping and maybe even add in more board wipes. Right. But I don't think it's the best board wipe out there in white, but I like it because it at least gives you the option to cycle and draw a card. That's big.
Yeah, and again, artifacts, creatures, enchantments, it pretty much that's going to do a lot of the work. It's going to do a lot of the work, right? And I think with Gerard, having not just one-sided board wipes is good, right? So Gerard, if Gerard is only destroy all creatures, if you're running only those kind of board wipes, it's significantly worse because you get no value after casting them. Have you ever... Now, here's my question to you, sir. Have you ever seen this card cycled?
I used to run this in my Karametra deck when I first built it years ago because I was, I kind of had that whole angel sub theme, and I was like, oh, Akroma's Vengeance. It might even still be in the deck.
It's a great card.
Now that I think about it. And so I've cycled it regularly.
Really? Okay. Because the only time I've run this, I run this in a few decks, and the only time I've ever done it is in my Xur deck because I literally had nothing else to cycle, and I needed to I just need one more. Let's do one more card. Bring it out.
All right. Well, what's your second hop?
So I think when we're looking at these decks, there's a few in here that I just, it's, if you may, I couldn't just, I couldn't be anything. And this one in particular is one that truly baffles me, but it makes sense because of the person who built it. Death Ward? Question mark?
I was literally just about to say, I feel like you're about to say Death Ward.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
Okay, so hear us out, people. Death Ward is I would assume a common from Unlimited or some edition long forgotten to the sands of time.
It is a common indeed. Wait.
1 white,
actually,
20 cents.
It may be an uncommon.
1 white, 20 cents. Regenerate target creature. It's
so stupid.
Very strange. And I would wager to guess that Regenerate is such a weird thing where you put the regeneration shield on it, and if it would die this turn, then it gets tapped, and it's so complex. Also, it's mostly a green mechanic, but I can see this card being in here solely for the Godfather to say, hey, you want this creature? You want that one there? Oh, okay, I'll regenerate. And then everyone else is looking around and looking like, you just regenerated his Aurelia the War Leader. Well, we're all dead next turn. What is going on here?
Yeah, and the only reason it's in the hops and not the spice is because technically it is a response to something your opponents are going to do. So it does technically fill that gap, but it's not even like you can use it with Gerard because Gerard has to die, then get exiled for him to even function.
Right.
So if it had been some cute thing he got a way around it, that's pretty cool. All right, kudos to you. But nope, I think he just put it in here because it's an old looking card.
And it says regenerate on it, and everyone just loses their hats. And also,
my last one is another board wipe. It's another way to get rid of stuff. 3 colorless, white, planar cleansing. Sorcery, destroy all non-land permanents. So I like this one because it'll also hit planeswalkers. Because that's the one thing Akroma's Vengeance does miss. And right now, this deck has nothing that it can do against Planeswalkers because it doesn't know what it's trying to do. So something like this for 37 cents is actually, I think, pretty key, especially if, once again, you have Gerrard out and you're able to do your rigmarole.
Yeah, we will see you in the bottle.
Oh, come on.
Trust me on this.
Trust me, there's other stuff that you can cut that is worse than this.
You're not wrong.
All right, what's your last hop?
So this has to have come from you. Has to have. Price of Glory.
Nope.
What? Where did he get this from? It's
probably. Well, remember, he got like a bunch of old vintage stuff from a buddy in a garage somewhere.
It's $10.
He also got a garbage load of cards for me.
Okay, well, this one also doesn't need to be $10, and I hate it. 2 colors and a red for a Prophecy uncommon, $10 or $11. Truth Strength lies in action. I do like that. Let the weak react to... I actually like that too. Okay. True Strength lies in action. Let the weak react to me. Come on, Pit Fighter. I'm on board with all that. Here's what I'm on board with. Whenever a player taps a land for mana during another player's turn, destroy that land. I get it. I think this is actually a fairly good card. I think it shuts down a lot of things. I just don't so fine, right? And like, I don't particularly care for land destruction, but I do like this, how in most red decks and aren't running blue, you're kind of at sorcery speed anyway, right? So might as well lean into a little bit and punish people who aren't.
Sure.
I just don't know how this... So was this one that got cut? He cut something that you gave him and put this in.
Yep.
That's the part now I'm flabbergasted
that he actually put in a good card.
That makes sense for this deck in any whatever iteration that you have, right? And I'm starting to wonder if it's like, does he just like the artwork? Does it just say taps a land? And I think the running theme for these is everything that he puts. He's like a 75% player, but 75% is everyone else's deck, right? Like, I kind of feel like that's a pseudo deep running theme on it. I mean, it's a really good card in this deck. I just have no idea how it got there.
Well, I mean, I can see why he probably put it in the deck, because he has had this deck now over 2 years.
Oh, that's a good point.
And he's played it enough to see that he's not doing stuff on other people's turns. Mm-hmm. So it probably is something like, oh, well, I'll just play this. And it's all about that modular opponent decision.
Right.
Hey, you want to tap some lands on my turn? Like, shit's gonna get blown up. Or you want to, hey, Mr. Combo, like, I'm gonna, you see this? I'm gonna play this. You can't do stuff during squeeze next turn.
Right. Yes.
F you, man. And so I think that's probably why he put it in there. But from a strategic sense, it is perfect, because unless you're doing Feather, you don't want anyone doing anything on your turn.
Right. Yep. Totally agree. So it was just weird to see a $10 card that's actually playable and good in this build.
All right. That's going to wrap up hops. Let's get over to yeast, because this may or may not make any sense. We'll have to see. BigTuck, start us off. What's your first yeast?
So I may mention this earlier and I forgot. I really like this card, and I'm pretty sure he put it in here specifically to shove it into your face, Mr. Combo. We were talking about the Tauntering of the Brashest.
So upset.
That's the only explanation. This came out 3 months ago, or maybe 4 months ago, and he's been playing with you more than anyone else. Brash Totter is
upset.
It's a 4 colorless red 1/1 creature goblin that's indestructible. Whenever he's dealt damage, it deals that much damage to target opponent. 2 colorless and red, tap. Brash Totter fights another target creature. And of course, my favorite flavor text, or one of them, you hit like a kobold. And again, I am a little bit of a Brash Totter myself, I'd like to say. So, do I know why this card is in the deck? Yes. Does it make sense? No. Does it make sense due to Davis's Twisted Beautiful Dark Fantasy? 100%.
So I actually do think it makes sense for the deck.
Okay.
Or at least, sorry, what the deck was trying to do.
The first time or the new one?
Not this weird Frankenstein's monster. Both the Jor Kadim and the first version of Gerrard. Because a big prevailing theme was you had all these equipments, you load them up on creatures and you hit people.
Aha!
But then you're board wiping, and then you kind of have to reset. Well, with Brash Taunter and like a Gerrard, you board wipe. Well, all the equipment's come back. You load it up on the Taunter,
right.
And then you're swinging in, and then it's like, sure, you want to block it? I'm just going to deal the damage to you anyways.
Right,
you might as well just take it.
Your choice.
So that's why I think it does make sense, because there is 17 artifacts, and as you guys heard earlier, 3 of them aren't mana rocks or card draw things. Right. So it's a lot of stuff that he's going to be able to throw on there and be able to, get some damage done. Now, does it justify 2 of the cards in the Spice package? Absolutely not. But I do think Brash Taunter makes some sense.
Yeah. Okay. I know exactly what you're talking about. So yeah. I couldn't help myself though.
So my first one is a 7-drop that has a red mana condition. That Emboros is fine. You're gonna get it, I think. Now that I think about it, it's like, I don't know. But the way the deck was once again supposed to do is live and die in the red zone. You're getting people down to a lower life total. Well, eventually it's going to get to the point where maybe they just have too many blockers. Maybe they have 17 enchantments so you can't pay, but they're a sub 10 life. Sundering Stroke, I actually think, can help win the game. 6 colorless red. It's a sorcery from Throne of Eldraine. I did not give this to him. Don't know where he got
it. And again, just to make sure, garbage set.
Oh yeah, absolute trash. Sundering Stroke deals 7 damage, divided as you choose among 1, 2, or 3 targets. If at least 7 red mana was spent to cast the spell, it deals 7 damage to each of those permanents and or players instead. So basically 7 mana if you paid red, 21 damage.
It's pretty good. And especially, like we talked about, with 2 of the cards in the Yeast package, Brosh Taunter, and another one, that can outright just kill somebody. It could be 14 damage, could be more, right?
I like that. It's like Brosh Taunter.
Brosh Taunter.
Brosh Taunter. It's like Brash Contour. We're just going to keep going down the path. But anyway, Sundering Stroke, he does have a little bit more red mana in the deck than white.
Right.
So I'd like to think he'll have 7 red, but I also look at this as like a turn 15 to 18 card.
Yeah.
Like, we need to get there to a point, and it's like he's probably been hitting land drops. He has 35 lands in the deck. Okay, well, 7. He at least kills a person.
Yeah, and even then, even if he doesn't have the red, it's still 7 damage tossed out amongst enough creatures could be enough to get there as well, right? At least to slow someone down enough where he could swing out? Question mark. I don't know.
Well, and it's kind of funny. Your 21 damage thing is kind of hilarious. You choose the opponent, you choose your Brash Taunter, you choose yourself, and it redirects the Brash Taunter, which redirects to that person. Right. All right, Big Tuck. What's your second yeast?
This is another one that I think is cool, and again, it just baffles me where he got this from. It's an artifact creature worker from Dominaria, Mishra's Self-Replicator. 5 colorless for a 2/2. It has witnessed history's most significant events, one carnation after another. Whenever you cast a historic spell, you may pay 1. If you do, create a token that's a copy of Mishra's Self-Replicator. This is where I was starting to think into that he did have some sort of rigmarole going on here of creating cheap artifacts and then sacking them for value and then get them back with Gerard. But it's this weird, like, this is so, okay.
There is no sacrifice theme in this deck.
Outside of there's 2 cards which we might get into that's
not a theme.
That could have it, right? But that's what I'm saying. So for me, Mishra's Self-Replicator is a card where it's like, if this wasn't anyone but the Godfather's deck, I would think this card's in here for a reason, right? We played, who was that? We played who was it where it was who was it where it was like Demir artifacts?
Well, we didn't play them. We talked about it. That'd be a good old Dana Roach over at EDH Retcast.
So I think he had that in there, and it was like, oh, this is okay. I can see where this is going, right? But in here, I still like it, and I can kind of maybe, if I close my eyes and look backwards,
I can tell you why it's in the deck. So I put this in the deck.
Okay.
So the reason it was in there is because, once again, Gerard Kadim, you need artifacts. So really, if you think about it, every time you cast one of your artifact spells, you pay 1, you make another 2/2, which is really a 5/2 with his +3/+0. That's the reason it was in the deck. And it only cost 1. And because this is a very much 75%, 60% type deck, he's not going to have a lot of stuff to do on other people's turns. You notice there's no Path to Exile, no Swords to Plowshare, other than Death Ward. I don't think he has much instant speed stuff. You know, he has an Eerie Interlude, which is fine. A lot of the stuff is going to be happening on his turn. And so, you know, it's kind of like what we talked about with the Wheel of Fate. It's like, oh, I got 3 cards. I got 8 mana. Well, I guess I could, and I've seen him where he just dumps the mana into the Mishra's Self-Replicator, make another. So it works out really well, and it's nice because then once you get your first one, when you have 2, then it's like, oh, I'll pay 2 mana, and they'll each make a copy, and it just kind of keeps going crazy.
Down from there, sure. Yeah, but again, like I said, I think it's cool. I think it's very cute, and you know, it's been my pleasure to talk about it.
So the next one I want to talk about is a way that you can at least capitalize on his chaos when he board wipes his creatures or his artifacts. If it's an enchantment one, it'll kind of suck. But if he doesn't have Gerrard out, at least he can get some damage in with Pia's Revolution.
Right.
2 colorless red enchantment. Whenever a non-token artifact is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, return that card to your hand unless target opponent has Pia's Revolution, deal 3 damage to him or her. Pia's passion was directed at the big picture, at making real lasting change. Oh, how 2020 relevant. So this really was in here. It's like, hey, if he's gonna, you know, if someone Vandal blasts him, or you know, he does a board wipe and his creature, you know, has indestructible, or just whatever kind of nonsense with that, he can start saying like, well, I already casted Gerrard 3 times, 4 times. Hey, BigTuck, you got 12 life. I got 8 cards that are going to go to my graveyard. How many of them get to go to my hand, and how many times are you going to take 3 damage? Most of the time, you're going to be like, well, what's the worst thing? I guess I maybe take 3 for that, but you get the other 7 to your hand.
Right. So this is where this backwards sort of thing could happen, right? Where if you wanted to do this, you could play this like bizarro artifact sack rigmarole, but again, there's no. This is the only right. This is the only card in the entire deck that it matters to, right? Like you talk about building around your commanders, Nero. How about one card that you have no potential way to tutor up, and in reality have 3 cards in the entire deck that can do anything about it?
Jeez. Yeah. But anyways, Pia's Revolution, if this was the Gerrard Kadim or Artifact Go fluffy type deck, I think it's a slam dunk.
Also, quick side note, if you are running ready, do not put this card in your deck no matter what you want, no matter what you think.
Why?
Because Duretti, you want high-cost artifacts in your graveyard to tutor back out.
Oh.
Because I thought the exact same thing, right? Because I was like, I'm going to sack all my artifacts and people aren't going to do anything. And that's like, oh, I have a 12-12 I have a 12-12 artifact with 5 mana on turn 4.
All right. Well, BigTuck, what's your last Yeast?
So I was hoping that you might choose one of these. And now that you're...
Oh, I did not.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep, I know what you're talking about. If you want to lump them together,
that's what I was going to do. So anyways, I just want to talk about the Cadre package, which is the helm, the sword, and the shield of Cadre. So we don't need to get into each one of them specifically, but all of them are...
Well, at least read off
Should
what
I
they do
it real quick? Okay. So helm of... I'll start with the sword, which I think is the best generic one.
Oh, okay, yeah, I can see that.
Sword of Cadre is 4 colorless for legendary artifact equipment. It's $14. Equipped creature gets +5/+5. Whenever equipped creature deals damage to a creature, remove that creature from the game. Equip 4. Sword.
And then well, I was just going to say, so that way you don't have to talk the whole time. Shield of Kaldra, 4 colorless to cast, 4 to equip, legendary artifact equipment for $7. And yes, I gave him all these cards for the deck. Equip named Sword of Kaldra, Shield of Kaldra, Helm of Kaldra are indestructible. Equip creature is indestructible.
Yes. And then lastly, we have the Helm of Kaldra. It's 3 colorless for $9. And you have the promo version, but I think they're all kind of expensive. Equipped creature has First Strike, Trample, and Haste, and it's equipped 2. But it has 1 colorless. If you control equipment named Helm of Kaldra, Sword of Kaldra, and Shield of Kaldra, put a 4/4 colorless Avatar Legend creature token named Kaldra into play and attach these equipment to it.
And you know what's funny, Tuck, is actually I think the promo is cheaper than the original.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that's wild. So I like all of these equipment, and I think they're kind of underrated even on their own if you don't own a pair, right? Or the I don't know what
the trip.
Yeah, thank you. But in my estimation, I know I learned this deck because they're really good as equipment. They're really good with short and all that stuff. But for me, just for those playing the home game, there was a time where I only ran Sword of Kaldra because I think it was like cheaper and it dealt damage. But as soon as I started playing that deck, whatever it was, I was like, well, the Helm and the Shield both do good stuff. So I feel like if you're gonna have one, you might as well just pony up and have them all. And ironically, I think the weakest part of all of them is assembling Kaldra. I think the individual pieces of them are much better than that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess because all it does is just make Kaldra, a 9/9 with a bunch of effects?
Right, but it's not your command.
Yeah.
It's not your commander. It's not your anything, right? It's just a 9/9. Sure. And then someone says, oh, that's really cute. You spent 3 tutors and 17 mana to do this. I'm just going to cast. I'm going to Path to Exile, and all right, I guess now what, right?
Gosh, that's something that Wizards needs to do in 2021 or 2022 is actually make a Kaldra legendary creature.
Dude, that would be...
That, like, when it enters the battlefield, you can tutor for one of, and you get to pick one of the pieces to bring out.
Oh! That would be... Dude...
And then you have to figure out some way to, like, blink it.
But that's actually...
To, like, be able to go grab other pieces.
But I think that's really smart because there's no reason that these 3... Like, I understand they're legendary, so you can cheat with, like, Kethis or whatever. But, like, there's no reason that these 3 cards need to be this expensive. So, like, 2022 reprint with Kaldra in it, that would be awesome.
And you can make Kaldra colorless, so you don't have like white blink shenanigans to abuse it. It's like you have to really work hard, like a Conjuring Closet, 1 card in the 99, and that gives colorless a non-Eldrazi theme.
Yes.
Ooh, I think we're onto something.
I think we're definitely onto something. So, anyways, I didn't want to wax poetic too much about that, but I bet you feel dumb. I bet you feel not dumb, but wistful that you gave him $20, $30 in 3 cards. I guess you don't run artifacts, so
wistful.
Yeah. And I think I had like 3 copies of each because I initially bought them because I was like, oh, these are so great. And then I just started cutting them from decks. It's kind of like Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots. So it wasn't a big deal. Nice. But what card is very much a Godfather card? I don't think I put this in the deck. I'm pretty sure this came afterwards. Heartless Hidetsugu.
Oh, God.
What a dick. See, I told you, it's Squee that manipulated this deck into the nonsense that it is.
I'm not telling you that I told him to put all these cards in there. I'm just saying I gave him access to my binder and my boxes to look through and pick what he liked.
Oh. Well, that's like saying, like, sorry, I didn't get your baby addicted to meth. I just laid out my needle and crack pipe and my bag of meth.
This card from Squee?
I had a Heartless deck.
Yeah. Remember, that was like one of the first decks he built when he came back.
Oh, yes.
And people hated it so bad, I just took it apart.
Yep.
So, Heartless Hidetsugu, legendary creature, Ogre Shaman. It's a 4/3. When you tap it, it deals damage to each player equal to half that player's life total, rounded down. Hidetsugu held over a dozen Oni in Blood Oath. At his touch, rocks scorch. At his word, cities burned. So this is the epitome of a Godfather card. Yep. Tap it, everyone lose half your life. But I actually think it's a yeast and not a spice because this deck wants Sorry, this deck should want to live in the red zone. And so getting someone from 40 down to 20 makes it a lot more manageable when you're swinging with maybe 3 or 4 creatures that are at 5 to 8 power versus, gosh, I have to do 120 life with 3 other opponents. Now it's like, 60? Oh, that's easily doable.
And to your point, in the optimized version of this deck,
heavy air quotes,
you would be running a bunch of things of the Swift Boots, of the Lightnings, of that one land that we like that gives things haste, right? Where the idea is you play a creature, equip a bunch of stuff to it, it already has haste, then go. They kill that creature, okay, fine, I'm just going to make you pay for it with the Heartless.
Yep, completely agree.
That's bonkers.
Well, that's going to wrap up the East package. Now we head over to Spice, and there was a lot of options. So
holy hell.
Here's what I did. I'm talking about a spice that I'm not going to cut. I know that we always try to talk about cards that we don't cut, but this one was hard because I wanted to talk about some of the bullshit that's in this deck, but I'm not going to do that. We'll do that in the capping. A card that is very Godfather. I just think for this deck, 8 mana is a lot for it. Magmatic Force. 5 colorless, red, creature elemental, 7/7 from Battle Bond. At the beginning of each upkeep, Magmatic Force deals 3 damage to any target. Like, it's a very Godfather card where it's like, I'm dealing 3 damage each upkeep to stuff. Right. And yes, a 7/7 for 8 that has this effect isn't anything to sneeze at in the quote-unquote optimized version because you have all the equipment you can throw on it. I mean, imagine this with like Shield of Cauldron. It's indestructible. It's like, I'm just going to lightning bolt everything out here. It could fringe work. It's just real expensive. But I couldn't bear to cut it because with how much the deck has been parsed down, I don't really see a lot of creatures that I'm scared of him equipping. Right. It's like, cool, you did your 2/2 flyer. It's a 4/4 now. I'll kill you before that really matters.
I agree with all that. And I think this also plays into when people play against the Godfather, they know he's a loose cannon. They know he's not going to be comboing out. So even with, let's count them, 2 mana rocks in a Boros deck, this is still something where he can just be sitting on, play it. And then the game warps around it, right?
And maybe it warps around it. Yeah. It might just be like, yo, Godfather, don't lightning bolt my stuff, bro. And it'd be like, well, I don't know. I mean, what are you offering? Right. What are you going to do? Yep. And, it's like his weird politic thing, but then he very well may just do it exactly.
Your whole body goes into a Godfather impression when you say his voice. It's like you kind of you tilt to the side just right, the shoulders up a little bit.
Well, what are we going to do here?
I mean, I'm even wearing a sweater that he would wear.
Oh, he would totally wear that.
All right, Tuck, what's your spice?
I'm pretty sure I gave him this, and I'm also pretty sure that there's a million better cards. But again, to your point, this is also a classic Godfather card. So we're going to talk about Eye for an Eye.
Okay.
But how is this? But again, how is this not a Godfather card? 2 white for an instant. Play only when a creature, spell, or effect assigns damage to you. Eye for an Eye deals an equal amount of damage to that source's controller. So let me tell you this: there's a card that is the exact same but better called Deflecting Palm.
Oh, sure.
Right, which prevents the damage and then bounces it back. However, the fact that I could literally see the Godfather taking 5 from a Blastoderm or a Gigasaurus or whatever, right? Taking the 5 and then saying, oh, okay, cool. You also take 5. Boom. In your face. That's 10 life loss between the two of us. Do you like that? You see what's going on here? I got you. And that's why I think this card's hysterical for him to play.
I guess.
Is it good?
You are right. Deflecting Palm is just better.
Yeah. Is it good? No. Is it something? Also question marks. But this is another classic Godfather card of just something that's so wild, so out of the ordinary, so that no one else would play unless they're playing a deck built around this mechanic. That I had to talk about it.
Woof. Well, with that, guys, we're going to head over to the bottle capping. And this being the last episode, it's a reminder. BigTuck and I are going to be gifting the Godfather cards. It'll be under $5, under $50, $5, and a no budget recommendation, $5, that we'll be adding to the deck. So, BigTuck, start us off. What are you going to cut from the deck, and what are you going to add for under $5?
So this is the only one that doesn't matter. So I'm gonna be quick with it.
I that just means 20% of the deck.
I guess it should have been more specific. I'm gonna cut Planner Cleansing for just a strict upgrade. So we talked about Planner Cleansing. We know what it does. So I'm gonna cut that for
Pick a different card.
I'm gonna do Hour of Revelation, which is 3 colorless, trip white sorcery. This spell costs 3 less to cast, so there are 10 or more non-land permanents on the battlefield. Destroy all non-land permanents.
Why wouldn't you just cut like Heretics Punishment or Sky Terror or Sorcerer's Broom for that?
Because Godfather has some semblance of chaos. He has some semblance of knowledge to the chaos. I have to believe it. Now, will I be cutting 2 other cards of his that are garbage from here? Yes. But I need to do one quick, strict upgrade, and this is what I'm going to do. Out with the old, in with the new.
I'm so upset. Whatever. All right. I will actually do some fun stuff here. My first one is I'm going to cut Spirit of the Spires.
Oh, I'm cutting that too.
What the hell?
Yes.
3 colorless white, creature spirit, flying, 2/4. Other creatures you control with flying get +1 or +0/+1. I think he has like 2 creatures in the deck with flying, so it's out.
Let me take a look. Actually, to be fair, he has 12
cobbled wings. Okay.
No, I'm sorry. That's just 12 things that have flying on them. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, not enough. So that's all. That's why I'm also cutting it.
So I'm a big fan of this card. He has his Brash Taunters. He has a Stuffy Doll we didn't talk about. He has ways to deal damage directly to people's faces, but also do it through combat damage. And so I think a funny card that he would really enjoy is Mind Crank.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So 2 colorless, it's an artifact. So I'm trying to put more artifacts back into the deck. So Gerrard is actually useful, I guess is a way to say it. Whenever an opponent loses life, that player puts that many cards from the top of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Damage causes loss of life. Let go of your memories and be reborn. It's from a plate and a passage. So, like I said, I mean, he has tons of ways to do damage directly to people's face. I mean, heck, I even talked about the Sundering Stroke that could mill, 7 cards to each person. Brash Taunter gets dealt damage. It's going to deal damage to someone. They're going to end up milling. I do think incremental mill, and that's why I'm such a big Altar of the Brood fan, is so important. But I think this actually does what his deck wants. Gets another artifact, cuts a trash card, and I think he'll get a lot of fun, even if it's just like, hey, take 1, mill 1.
Is this the 3rd time you've subbed in Mind Crank in the last 2 months?
I know that I did.
But yes,
I know that I did add it in last month or the month before to one deck.
I did bring it up too. I don't know, a couple weeks ago. I ordered a Mind Crank in for Anawan.
Right. Again, mill is incidental mill like this is pretty good. But you're really breaking the bank here. $4? You're a maniac.
Just wait till you see the personal recommendation.
$4.05.
$5.
All right. Well, BigTuck, since $4 shocked you, how about your under $50 card? What are you going to cut and what are you going to add? So you're going to cut Spirit of the Spires.
Yeah, the exact same reason. So I'm going to put it in one that I think. So again, the way I read this is like that back to that pseudo artifact sacrifice theme with Gerard repeating it, that sort of thing. So I actually am interested to see how a 6-cent Treasure Keeper feels in this deck. 4 colors for an artifact creature construct is a 3/3 uncommon. When Treasure Keeper dies, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-land card with CMC 3 or less. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Put all revealed cards not cast this way on the bottom of your library in random order. So if we got a lot of room, a lot of runway for this deck to work, right? But with this card and like cards like Scrap Trawler, if you want to still do your Gerard and also keep your artifact theme in, there are ways where you can be able to do this card, get a free card, it comes back into play, sack it, and do something else, right? The fact that it's a creature as well, I think kind of gives a little bit of juice. And kind of makes it a little smoother. I'm not sure. I'm guessing based on that. I think another card that would be good in here would just be a Duretti Scrap Savant to kind of enable these sort of cycle mechanics and that sort of thing. So again, I'm leaning more into the sacking theme, the artifact theme. Those two kind of combined.
So I think the artifact theme is fine. I don't think a sacking theme is something this deck can support because, I mean, we're already talking about ideally we'd swap out 12 cards to give this thing some semblance of a body instead of just this gluttonous blob.
Sure.
But I think if you're going to make it a sack themed deck with artifacts, you'd have to overhaul the entire deck because I don't think a lot of the stuff in here makes any sense for a sacrifice theme for artifacts, but I think Treasure Keeper's fine because it is a dies trigger.
Right.
So you're at least going to get it. It is a body that you can equip, and 4 mana is not the worst. And I did count over half of his deck is CMC 3 or less.
And again, if you have Gerard out and board wipe, you get the ability from it and it comes right back to the battlefield.
Oh yeah. Good point.
Because I think you and I also keep forgetting that like there's an actual commander that has a specific play, a specific way to be played.
No, I don't. I say it's board wipe deck, but you're cutting my board wipes. Such a jerk. All right, my under 50. I'm gonna cut Or Scale Guardian. What the hell?
Which one's this?
Or Scale Guardian, 5 colorless red creature dragon from my favorite set, Modern Horizons, but this is a terrible card. 4/4 flying haste. The spell costs 1 less to cast for each land card in your graveyard. If it said each card in your graveyard, okay. Then I could fringe see.
It'd be a mythic rare.
Sure. But land card, no. If he had land tax in here, vaguely maybe. A dragon's loyalty cannot be earned, but it can be bought. But this card cannot buy a home in this deck.
Cannot buy homes?
So, we are going to add one of BigTuck's favorite and most hated board wipes. It's a little baby Joggle Hops. 4 colorless red sorcery. Destroy all artifacts, creatures, and lands that can't be regenerated.
You've lost it, Mr. Combo.
The raging waters had swept away trees, bridges, and even houses. My healers had much work to do. Halvar Arnson, Kelsdoran Priest?
Yeah. Sure, yeah.
Let's go for that. So once again, I'm all on board with him having Gerard, a bunch of stuff, and being like, you know what? Even if it's let's go this way: Gerard, 2 creatures, 4 equipments. Jockle hops it because you know what? You're going to be able to at least swing with your creatures as you get your eventual land drops. You'll be able to equip your creatures. They're going to be bigger. You're just going to be able to do stuff quicker than your opponents. Right. But then also, if you just so happen to have your Soul Ring, maybe you get to equip stuff when it all comes back. I think this screams the Godfather on every level, but it actually does what the deck wants to do.
Agreed. And again, a card like Jockle Hops is a sort of build around card, right? You don't just go and throw this willy-nilly in every deck to make a point, right?
Like, I think I put it in your Super Friends deck because it made so much sense. Yes,
absolutely. And I have it in my Marquesa Grixis deck because if I have a bunch of 1/1 creatures and no one has anything, then I probably just win on the spot, right? So, yeah. If this deck is a little more narrowed and a little more around the stuff coming back, it's an easy inclusion. And a lot of times, shockingly in this deck, to your point, Mr. Combo, there's a very good chance where it's like, I'm gonna play the Davis, the crunch and the elbows, I'm gonna play Jockle Hops. But here's the dangerous thing that you're doing, right? You're giving an atomic bomb to someone who's got an itchy trigger finger. So a lot of times I can see this just coming out turn 6, and
well, I literally see him doing this. I'm gonna tap and play that. Jaka, and we'll just be like, son of a bitch, Jockle Hops.
All right,
and he's like, oh yeah, that's how you say it.
Jaka not gonna work on this deck.
Your Godfather impression is spot on.
It's incredible. I know you're not a man of many impressions, but that one's right up there.
It's not just for those playing the home game. It's not just the voice. It's the body language.
Yeah, it's the whole thing. Yeah, the look and it's top notch.
Well, we're finally at the top of the capping. No budget. BigTuck.
Wow.
What are you cutting? What are you adding?
I'm gonna destroy the bank. I'm gonna crash Wall Street. I'm gonna cut Alabaster Potion because this card is not good.
You know what's funny? I think this is the second week in a row that we've cut some random ass life gain card. That's just life gain X.
It's just not. It's not good. It kind of harkens back to. There's just a lot to unpack with this card. Alabaster Potion is an instant. It's an uncommon from as early as 5th edition. X white. Choose one. Target player gains X life. Prevent the next X damage that be dealt to any target this turn. Healing is a matter of time, but it is sometimes also a matter of opportunity. The proverb. Look.
Late game all-star.
Look, I like life gain as much as the next guy.
No, life gain is irrelevant. Okay, so
prevent damage, gain life.
I don't know.
Late game all-star. Done.
Back in the day,
Squee, you're wrong, but life gain is relevant. Look at Sir Nathan.
Okay, that's fine, but one card, an entire deck built around it is one thing. One card. So
sure.
let's go back to the days of Alpha and Beta. Blue. Ancestral Recall. 1 blue, draw 3 cards. Black. Dark Ritual. Pay 1, get 3 black mana. Red. Lightning Bolt. Deal 3 damage to any target. Green. Giant Growth. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end turn. White. Healing Solve. Gain 3 life. Prevent the next 3 damage that gets dealt to target creature. Now, which one of these set the entire precedent for the color?
I'm going to vote for the blue one.
You are correct. Yes, but this is just Healing
Solve. Shit on Lightning Bolt like that.
So the real winners are everything. Well, actually, the real winners are Lightning Bolt, Dark Ritual, and Ancestral Recall. And by that I mean it's
literally all the winners are everything but white.
Right. So this is the worst white card with more stipulations to it. So again, going back to we need ways to win. We need things to sacrifice. We need stuff to come in and out of the battlefield. I think that for 43 cents, Gadrak the Crown Scourge would be a very interesting inclusion in this deck. 2/3 for
So this was going to be one of my ads, and then I changed it at the last minute.
Really?
Yeah, because I do think it'd be really good in this deck.
Dude, this card is so cool, and I love it, and I can't piece together where to come.
I ripped it out of my Kalia deck.
Yeah,
it's just did
diddly dog dick, if you will.
Yeah, it's like you get to hit once for 5 and then never again,
and then nothing. So 2 colorless and a red for legendary creature dragon. It's a rare from M21 flying. Gadrak this Crown Scourge can attack unless you control 4 or more artifacts, which is relevant in this deck no matter what the Godfather is trying. But more importantly, at the beginning of your end step, create a treasure token for each non-token creature that died this turn. So I think this can make some monster turns, right? So where you go like Gadrak turn 3, Gerrard turn 4, turn 5. Everyone's got their huge board and everything. Then you do your planar cleansing or board wipe or whatever, right? It dies. You get Gadrak back, and also 5-6 tokens, which is almost enough to get Gerard back the next turn, and then kind of keep that cycle going as long as you want. So again, this is definitely a card that is not a slam dunk in every deck, but even in the non-streamlined version of this build, I think it still could do some serious juice.
Yeah, I'm all on board. I like it. It's just I thought of something cute to do for my personal recommendation, so that's why I went that route. But as we've been talking, I don't think it works. But I'm still going to include it in the deck because I already bought it. But Gadrick is great. I do think it has a home in this deck, and I think outside of this cast, before I give the deck back to him, probably this weekend or something, all of his decks, I'm actually going to go through my big like bulk box, and I'm going to find all the Boros mana rocks I have and just throw them in the deck because he needs the help and needs to cut out that trash, and that'll just make Gadrick even better.
Right.
So. All right, here we are.
The cutest. You're saying this is a little baby cutie cut.
It is.
Okay.
So, the cut isn't cute. I'm actually cutting Heretics Punishment. So, 4 colorless red enchantment. It's a rare from Onslaught. 30 cents, 3 colorless red, choose target creature or player, then put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. Heretics Punishment deals damage to that creature or player equal to the highest converted mana cost among those cards. Stupid. Just absolutely stupid, because now if this was a Duretti deck, slam dunk. Are you kidding me? Fill up your graveyard, shoot stuff down, shoot people down, Duretti activation, you pull the stuff out. Like, that's amazing. But in here, your graveyard's only good when you have Gerrard out. That's it. There's not even a Sun Titan in the deck. So,
this card, even in a Duretti deck, this card is dripping. There's just so many things that have to go right, and I got nothing else to say about that.
All right. So the card I'm going to add, it's an artifact. It's 6 colorless. $1 $2. But hey, Godfather's one of my best friends.
You broke the rules, sir. This was under 5.
Oh no, that's just a joke for Tuck. But Godfather's one of my best friends, so I did just like I got him an Elish Norn for one of his other decks. This one in here, and you'll have to hear my thought process. I thought I could make it work. I don't think it works the way I want it to.
Okay,
so,
all right.
But it still functions, I guess is the way to say it. Mycosynth Lattice. Artifact. Mythic. All permanents are artifacts in addition to their other types. All cards that aren't on the battlefield, spells, and permanents are colorless. Players may spend mana as though or any mana of any color. So initially, where I was trying to get to was let's get Mycosynth Lattice out. We'll do an artifact board wipe. Gerard dies. Everything that everyone dies, you exile Gerard. All your stuff comes back. The thing that I don't, and here's where I think I'll have to figure out from a rules perspective, because like for example in my Shirai deck, I can't run Skull Clamp because when the creature dies, when it hits the graveyard, it still technically is a +2 power, not a 1 power. And so I can't run Skull Clamp and Shirai for that reason. So I don't know with Mycosynth Lattice, everything dies, Gerard's on the stack, everything's kind of in this limbo in the graveyard. Is everything still potentially an artifact? So you can activate Gerard and bring everything back. So I'm going to have to talk with a judge to see if that works. But even if it doesn't, I'm all on board making everything artifacts, making stuff colorless. It'll make it easier for him to cast things. And if he decides he wants to do a Akroba's Vengeance and literally nuke the entire board, have at it. Why not? Because you know what? It's kind of like a redundant Jockle Hops, because he's going to get the Lattice back. He's going to get everything else back. And then he can just kind of keep rinse and repeating with Gerard. Right. So I think it's pretty cool. I just got to figure out
if he gets his lands back, that sort of thing, right?
Yeah. But that's my cute kind of slimy rigmarole. Or no, sorry. I guess this would be sweaty. This is definitely dripping. Because like for example, think of like a god, an enchantment god that doesn't have devotion. If someone's able to make it lose indestructible and blow it up while it's on the field as an enchantment, I don't think it hits the graveyard as a creature. I think it hits the graveyard as an enchantment.
But I know you can still tutor those as they're either.
Yeah, I was saying
correct. I'm just more
when it's state-based. Yeah, just the state base for that second. I think it's still an enchantment until whatever fully resolves or the death fully resolves. That's the thing I don't know about is while it's sitting in the graveyard, and I'm sure we'll have people in our patron community and the rules lawyers, but I will be posting this to the MTG judge on the Facebook group, and next, or I guess tomorrow in the future time to continuum, I will post it on Twitter if anyone's actually curious what the actual ruling is. Now, to your point, I think it still is cute enough to include because if you run artifact removals, everyone loses everything, and you still get all your stuff back, like you said, including Microsoft Lattice, right? But then you're dipping your toes in the big tuck waters of this being an artifact sack deck, and I like what I'm hearing.
I don't think it's an artifact sack deck. I still want it to be a global destruction deck. Yeah. That's my goal. I mean, hell, if I have an extra Vandal Blast, I'll probably throw it in the deck. Could you imagine Michael Synth Lattice overload Vandal Blast?
It's over.
Everyone just scoops.
No question asked.
Yeah. Well, with no further questions asked, guys, we have wrapped up White Elephant Month, and thanks for staying till the end. And as promised, here's some details about our giveaway from our sponsor, Level 1 Game Shop. We're giving away both of the Commander Legends Commander decks, and as you heard me on MTG Action 4 News earlier in the week, they suck. We will be giving away both of the Commander Legends Commander decks and a CMD Tower playmat and sleeves. To enter, it's super simple. Just about the content that we produce, whether it be on YouTube or articles on cmdtower.com, or even interacting with us on social media. You get an entry for doing all of those stuff into the contest, plus subscribing to our patron community. We will announce the winner on MTG Action 4 News January 5th and social media soon after. And yes, giveaways will happen every month. Just keep supporting CMD Tower and Level 1 Game Shop. But we would like some 5-star reviews, whether you're listening to us on YouTube or a podcast platform. Or, hey, maybe a nice comment on our article series on the CMD Tower website. It's pretty barren. I know people don't like going to websites anymore because it's not cool, but neither is sending emails. If you would like to reach out to us and find more ways you can enter into the contest, here's how you can do that. You can reach me at MrComboNumber5 on Twitter. I'll spell that except for the 5. Big Tuck, where can they reach you?
I've been more silent this week, but I am still held at hostage
alive
on Twitter at BigTuck tweeting.
You can also reach our main account at CMD Tower on Twitter as well. We also have a website where the article and deck list will be posted, cmdtower.com/BNBE72. Basically, all you have to type in is Chitinous Cloak, Mirror Propagator, Death Ward, Tower.com. Squee McGee, if people want to get a hold of your Manolith commentary and the Rich Chaos Records studio, how would they do that?
You can find me on Facebook or Instagram at Rich Chaos Records. You can find me on the proverbial Twitter sphere. It's at Dear Squee. I'm active-ish, you know. I'll post a photo once a month.
Are you active?
Yeah, absolutely. Retweet, tweet, comment. I'm all over it. I just posted a photo of myself drinking a beer that somebody else from another podcast happened to have from the brewery that I work at. It was quite entertaining. That tripped me out for a minute. But you can also find me, more importantly, it's DearSquee at cmdtower.com. As Mr. Combo alluded to, I know y'all don't want to go to the website, but you know, if you want to email me at the website's handle, cool with that.
I will take it.
Yeah, I will take that.
He does have a full studio, and so he can work with you remotely for any audio needs that you may have. If you would like to actually hook up our sponsor with the orders you're already doing, you should head over to level1gameshop.com. When you place an order in the order notes, just type in CMD Tower so know that you came from the collective. Outside of their own storefront, they do have their own TCG store, competitive pricing. They do have Commander Spellbook Green at a fairly decent price, so you should definitely go check them out. And they do still have some limited quantities of our playmat and sleeves, so if you help them, that also directly helps us. But if you would actually like to put dollars in pockets, you could head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/CMD Tower. We have different reward tiers from even just like $5 a month, getting a sweet squeeze coin, plus access to the Discord, plus entries into the deck therapy and additional entries into the monthly giveaways, all the way up to $25 or as little as $1. We got it all over the place so we could fit any budget. But if you can't help out from a monthly perspective, but maybe you see on Mr. Bever's Twitch channel or on MTG Lexicon's Twitch channel some of the sweet CMD Tower swag, head over to cmdtower.com/merch. We do sell all of our merchandise on there. You can buy it, we'll ship it, and get it out of my basement. And of course, thank you again to Pink Royal for the music provided in the episode. So Big Tuck, we're going to do things a little bit differently. First off, how did you feel Gerard the Unabomber went? And second, how did you like doing White Elephant Month?
Oh boy.
Loaded question.
Painful exhale.
Yeah. Man, there's a lot to unpack there. This has been an interesting month and an interesting year on, to put it gently. I am glad that we're done with these decks. I am not particularly excited about what next month is bringing for us either, which is okay. Not gonna get in there, but at least it'll be real decks. So all these decks for him, it's easy to lose sight of. When you look at a combination of cards online, you kind of take the personality out of them a little bit, right? And not any, even if I gave someone else, my Duretti deck or my Marquesa deck, when they play it, they may have a completely different line of play or strategy or whatever to it that I didn't, right? So it's been interesting looking at these objectively with still the idea of the Joker running these behind, like in the back of your mind, you know what I mean?
Sure.
I think the biggest pull away is I can't believe that he, with his 75-cent mana bases, has happened to have complete, almost exact color parity in all of his decks, which is just wild.
So, I didn't think I would say this, but I feel like this Unabomber deck was the worst deck this month, shape-wise.
Yeah.
And I really thought it was going to be the Dimir one.
I'd give it to you by a country
because
mile
the Dimir,
in Tuxford.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, and that may have to do with the fact that he's had it the longest, and so he's tweaked with it the most. And traditionally, cards that are in red, white, and Boros, no one wants to play, so they're easily accessible and cheap, and no one cares if you pull them out of their binder. So I definitely think this will be one, like I said, probably before the weekend. I'm probably going to go in and cut about 10 spice that we didn't talk about and just find different ways to get mana stuff in the deck. Just to help out and make it just somewhat functional. Probably going to shove Jorkadeen back in the deck if I have an extra copy, or just write on a piece of paper, Jorkadeen, put it back in, you bitch. Because I think if you're doing this attack artifact theme, you have to have Jorkadeen in the 99. Because getting that +3/+0 for everyone is pretty significant. Unless he's trying to go some like combo rigmarole Boros route, which I know he's not trying to do. So that's how I feel about this deck. I will say though, this was a mental check for me. I don't know about you, because basically outside of the pre-con, you and I built each of these decks for him.
Sure.
And even though this deck, it's not any of what I built, he took out 30% or 40% of it. It still kind of has shown that, man, like a few years ago, if someone's like, hey, I'm kind of getting into Magic, can you help? Can you just like throw together a deck that I can play? I really didn't think that far ahead for them. It was just like, let me find a legend that I'm never going to build. Oh, here's this. What's he care about? Artifacts? Sure, I'll just shove a bunch of shit in here, and maybe it'll work. Maybe it'll do something.
It was probably fairly all right. It would play okay.
Well, and I think so. I've done the same thing for like Marketing Ross is a good example, right? Like I pretty much built him a deck that did that about the same time that I did this when he was getting back into Magic. Of just piles and stuff I've had left over, and I think he still has it, and he's taken more interest in the game and also more interest in that deck too, right? So it's hard though when you're like, you can only build when you're trying to build a deck for someone that you don't know and you want them to get into playing. You don't want to give them $500 deck that's going to crush, right?
Well, and I think a good example, though, Tuck, not to cut you off, is when I built this deck, my mindset was I'm not going to really give him anything real expensive. You know, I think the Cadre package is about the most expensive thing I gave him. So it's like, I think when I built it, it's like, okay, real cards, I'm giving away like $30. Sure, okay, that's fine. Not a big deal. My Goreclaw deck, though, that I built for him, you were like, holy crap, Ulamog's in here. And I specifically remember when I built that deck, and I told him, I was like, hey, like, for the most part, there's a lot of cards in here I don't care about, but Emrakul and Ulamog are two that if you decide to cut them from this deck, I need you to give them back to me because they're worth real money. And I think that reflected because that Goreclaw deck actually beats face because I built it without worrying about giving him an expensive card that I already own that's just sitting in a binder. I'm probably not going to play it. Then it was like, oh, well, if I'm not going to play it, at least you can get some use out of it. And once you're done playing it, just give me the card back and we're good. And I think that really shows because when I built that Boros deck, it's like, I'm not giving you anything decent in Boros because it's like land tax, Teth's protection. Like, I'm going to use this stuff.
Yeah, so Boros sucks and you need staples, baby. You need staples.
But I mean, honestly, I know this is you're not going to agree with this, but honestly, if it's like, I can't even say that. Never mind. I don't want to say it and have it on camera.
Well, this has been fun, guys. We definitely appreciate the collective. We appreciate the people that aren't a part of the collective. We definitely didn't think that we'd be doing this a year and 4 months later, but here we are. And hopefully 2021 will continue to get creative, find new ways to bring content to you, and maybe even start streaming on Twitch.
Also, I want to say a few things before we leave here. Not gonna work here. Series of tubes. Suck it. Coming for you, Jimmy. That's right, Billy. Hashtag suck it. Hashtag cower. Hashtag blasted. And we do love cards that are sweaty, slimy, and greasy.
Who's Billy? Bye-bye.